All right. And we are live. Let me know if you guys can hear me out there. Am I coming through loud and clear? Let's see here. All right. I am loud and clear. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Let me see who I got with me so far here. We have got my buddy Gabe K. Oakla. Gabe, how you doing? Jeff, Big Crack Rock, what's up? Joe Reese, hello. Dan, what's up? Johnny Melancholy. Rec, how's it going, Rec? How are you? Horror fan Craig, hello. DJ, what's up? Joe Bob, the name's Vodka. Nice name. How are you tonight? Hey, Ron, hello, Envy Davler, how are you? Lopke Vision Films, what's up? How's everybody doing? Hope y'all are having a good Monday night so far. Thank you for joining us tonight. Got a fun show tonight. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I love conventions. I love going to conventions. I love talking conventions. Unfortunately, last year was spent just talking about conventions pretty much all year. So whenever I have the opportunity to talk to somebody about conventions, I usually take that opportunity. And that opportunity arose tonight with Dominic Mancini, who is a talent rep for talent. That's why they call him a talent rep for convention bookings and stuff through his company, Full Empire Promotions. I'm going to bring him on here momentarily. We're going to be giving away some autographed photos from some of his clients. So that's very kind of him, very generous of him. And we'll get around to doing that here very, very soon. But without further ado, Dominic, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, Justin. Good to see you. How are
Hey,
you?
man. Hey, good, man. You?
I'm living the dream. Can't complain. It's not my dream, but I'm living it.
It's it could be considered a nightmare. Some of the things it could be it's kind of nightmarish, but hopefully things will change for the better. We'll maybe start to go back towards some level of normalcy here soon. I hope.
I think so, and I think if anything, living through 2020 has kind of made me more of an optimist. Before I was a realist, but living through that's kind of like, okay, this bad happened. Let's find the good in that.
Yeah.
I was a glass half full kind of guy. Now, if I ever feel like my glass is half empty, I just get a fucking smaller glass. Are we allowed to
Yeah.
swear on
Sure.
here?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
That's yeah. But yeah, I optimism is good. Optimism is good. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible too. That we had a rough one last year, and let's just hope that 2021 is better. And Dan says, "Hey Dominic, thanks for being here with us."
Hey, Dan. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Um, Jeff Overing says, "Hey Dom."
Hey, Jeff. Good. How are you, man? Good to see you. Your
Um,
picture there. I feel like I've met Jeff. I know that last name. I feel like I've met him.
you may have. Jeff is a big fan of Eric's. I believe Jeff stays in contact with Eric. I believe he's possibly purchased some stuff from
Maybe
Eric, and
maybe he was at Columbus at that first show that I did with Eric. Maybe I met him there.
that's a possibility.
Yeah, might have
It's
been
a
that one.
possibility. Yeah.
Man, your man cave like puts my office to shame.
Well, it's
Wow.
been many years in the making, so it is a pain to dust, though.
I hear
A
you.
pain to
That's why I
dust.
have that's why I have the glass cabinets. You just
Oh,
Windex them.
yeah, especially when you have to move every little one and dust under it and put it back, and it's just ugh.
I
I
always
need to.
wonder. I always wonder seeing people's man caves like that. I always wonder if somebody like broke into your house and they saw all those masks. They'd probably be like, you know what? I'm probably gonna rob the house next door.
I do have interesting reactions to people who come over, like the internet guys. Whenever the internet guys have to come over, there's one guy in particular who he does not turn his back to me. So he's on high alert the whole time. So some people like it; they think it's cool.
Yeah.
But you can tell some people are just, they think it's the house of the devil or something. So,
Well, it's better than going into some old lady's house that has wood paneling from the 70s and smells like cat pee.
that's very true.
I'm
Nope,
sure they
no,
see a
there's
lot of that.
definitely no cat pee smell here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No cat pee smell here. But let's dive into the topic at hand here. Let's talk about conventions. I know a lot of my viewers are big convention goers, and I'm sure they're hoping that conventions will make a comeback this year. But let's talk about your history with conventions. Were you a big convention goer prior to becoming a talent rep?
I went to my first con. I found out about it in the local newspaper. Believe it or not, I still read the newspaper, still now. But this was, I think, 2003. I just graduated high school, and I read a big article about Monster Mania Con, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is close. I'm in the Philly area, and that's right over the bridge. It's pretty close, and I had no idea what a horror con was. As most people, when they first find out about cons, they really don't know what they are until they go. But I saw names like Robert Englund and Betsy Palmer and Tony Todd and all these great genre names. I said, well, let me go check this out. And I went on the Sunday, and I had like $150 with me, which I thought was going to get me like everything. And I get in there, and I was kind of stunned. It was like a mecca for horror fans. All these actors were so accessible, and all this cool vendor stuff, and like most people, I just got hooked, and I started going, for many years. Went as a fan for 4 or 5 years to all these different cities. I didn't just stay in my hometown. I went, everywhere, and I did that for a couple of years, and started noticing that I was seeing a lot of the same talent in the same cities. I would go to New Jersey, and then I would go to Dallas, and I'd see like half of the guest list was the same. Mm-hmm. And I would ask promoters. I would say, why aren't you mixing it up? Like, these guys have done the circuit. Why aren't you getting so and so? And they would either say, well, they don't have representation, or we don't know how to get a hold of them, or they're not interested. And back then, being a convention rep wasn't really a thing. Most promoters called actors direct and said, hey, you want to come do my show, and you make what you make, and you have fun. And that's mostly how the business model ran. Back then, you had some guys. You had like Sean Clark and Bill Philpott, who, believe it or not, were partners back then, and Chris Rowe. Those are the main three that I knew of that were booking talent. Mm. And
yeah, I think a lot of my viewers are they're familiar with Sean Clark.
Yeah, and as I said, those two and Chris Rowe. Chris Rowe repped like George Romero, and he reps Malcolm McDowell, Clive Barker, the Dawn of the Dead cast. So back then, there wasn't really. Convention agent wasn't really as big as it is now. There's hundreds of us now. Blew up over the years, but that's kind of how my first forte into cons started. I went as a fan, and like I said, got curious about the business end of it and the back end of it, and started asking questions, and then it kind of just went away. I said, okay, well, I was working full time. I never thought about doing it as a business. I was making decent money and just doing it as a hobby, and like everybody, and having fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool. You were going and you were seeing the same people over and over again. You're like, hey, let me reach out to these people and see if they can, you know what I mean? See if we can get them booked in there. I think that's kind of cool. That is one thing that, if you've attended more than a few conventions, there's the convention all-stars out there who are just at like every single one. And there's a reason, because they draw and because fans like them. But at the same time, you're kind of like, man, I see that person more than I see my own mother. So, I mean,
exactly. Your first con, you're like, oh my God, it's Tony Todd. I'm so excited. Then 2 cons later, you're like, hey, Tony, how are you?
Yeah.
Good to see you. How's the family?
Yeah. You're on a first name basis with them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you need those type of guests too, because they're like the welcoming committee.
Exactly.
They know the lay of the land. They're experienced in the con atmosphere, and they really know how to welcome the new. Because there's always newbies. There's always, good percentage of people at a con that have never been to one before.
Yeah, and I've talked about Kane Hodder in the past on this channel, and how he's sort of the he's the ambassador of the horror scene. But he's every convention I've seen him at, he's always got a line. He's always busy. Doesn't matter. He's at just about every one I've ever been to, but he's always busy. He's always got a line, and he's always really nice with his fans.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's Kane. I mean, he's you have to have him there. You
Yeah,
know, he's a great. I mean, he's awesome.
yeah. He's the mayor of Convention City. Um,
Although he has a habit of when he sees me, he punches me in the shoulder, and let me tell you,
he doesn't pull back. Yeah.
yeah, it's like dislocated.
Hmm. Yeah, he had that reputation for a long time of choking people in the photos, and the rumor I heard was that he had to at least pull back or stop because he put him out.
Yes,
So
yeah, I remember hearing about that. The guy turned blue and just collapsed.
when I first met him, he asked me, "Have I met you before?" And I really wish I would have said yeah, because he may have pulled back, but he did. He just like latched on, and my face in the photo was like so.
And the crazy thing is, Kane isn't really that big. You know, like he's not a huge guy, but he's powerful.
Mhm. Yes. Zombie says he's actually going to a convention next month. Oh, very cool, Zombie. Which one are you going to? I'm not familiar with any that are really even scheduled for this early.
Yeah, there's a couple next month. There's one in Atlanta, Days of the Dead,
Oh, okay.
and then I actually have clients booked in one in Charlotte, Mad Monster Party in
Oh, Mad
Charlotte.
Monster. I forgot about Mad
Yeah,
Monster. Yeah, they're always like around March, you know. Yeah,
yeah,
or the one in North Carolina is. Yeah.
yes.
Cool. Cool. So, what are some of your best and worst convention experiences as a fan before you got into the business? And you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but what were some of your best and worst experiences?
I mean, my best experience was probably the first time I met George Romero
Mm,
because I've got a good friend from Australia who I met during the cons, and we bonded over the Romero, fandom. Both big Romero nuts.
yeah.
And I told him just in an email. He was in Sydney, and I said, hey, Romero's doing a con. This was I think 2005, and I said Romero's doing a con. I'm going to go for the day. Do you want me to get you an autograph? And he says, no, I'm coming. I'm coming. I said, you're getting. So he got on a plane from Sydney, and flew like he landed the day of the con. I picked him up at the airport, and then we went to meet Romero, and we went all day at the con. This guy was like jet lagged and turning blue, and it was insane. But the adrenaline of meeting Romero kept him going. And then after George found out that he came so far from Sydney, he invited us to the suite after
Oh,
the
wow.
con to hang out with him and party and
Oh,
and this and that was like my first kind of behind the scenes with a celebrity moment with someone that was one of my favorite filmmakers. So
oh.
that was cool. That was a cool experience. George was bombed by the time we got there. He'd already been through some wine,
He, he
and that made
started the he started the party before you got there.
that made it even better.
Why, I mean, why you're having some wine with George Romero? Did you have a moment where you're like, "Holy crap"?
I
I'm yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. And then at one point I was sitting right next to him, and I said, "So George, what's your next what's your next film going to be?" And he looked over and said, "I don't know, man. Night of the Living Dildo." And I said, "Well, I can imagine the poster art on that one."
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That would have been interesting. That would have been an interesting entry in the Dead series for sure. Um, actually, Zombie says he's going to the Cult Classic convention.
oh, okay. I forgot about that one. I think that one's in Texas.
Mm,
I think. Yeah, I've never
cool.
been to that one, but I think the guy who owns the original gas station from Texas Chainsaw
That's
started it.
right. Yes, that's right. Yep, that's right.
You'd probably like that. You're a big chainsaw nut.
Yeah, I've been there. Really
Okay.
cool place, and yeah, I follow them on Instagram, and I've seen them make posts about their own convention. So yeah, I completely forgot about it. Yeah, Cult Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to the promoter. He's a nice guy. We've never been able to do any deals, but someday.
Hmm. Any bad experiences?
Um, just the typical, waited in line all day, and was got 3 seconds in front of the table. I don't want to name names who it was, but it was like a 5 hour wait,
Mm.
which back then was rare. Like I said, cons were not mainstream when I first started going. You got, when did you first start going, Justin?
2009 was my
Okay,
first year, and I got kind of spoiled because the first one I went to was Scarefest in Lexington, and they've got a great location. They've had the same location all these years. They've never moved. It's great, right in downtown. Lots of great parking. Just perfect location, and the way that they organize everything, you can get in and out of there and see everybody you want to see in 3 hours.
right, right.
So,
So
I
that was probably the worst experience for me, and nothing really, nobody Nothing bad really happened that where I could mention. It was just the typical, waited all day and got 3 seconds in front of the celebrity and they didn't even look up, and just you hear everybody complain about that.
Yeah, yeah. I've had those experiences too. Yeah, but the there was another convention that I went to the following year, also in Kentucky, and it was my second convention, and that one was not well organized. That one was stand in line forever. That one was like the staff threatening to steal your phone, or to confiscate your phone if you took a picture of somebody without paying for it. Just yeah, yeah, it wasn't a great experience. For me, the bad experiences are more from the convention part of it than from the celebrity. I mean, I think we've all, had those celebrity encounters like yours where they don't even look at you, what's your name? Justin. Okay, Mark, there you go. Um,
Right.
yeah. Or, they just don't think,
Yeah.
whatever.
Linda Blair.
Linda Blair was nice to me because I got some intel before I met her. I don't remember who told me this, but they said, okay, if you want to have a good encounter with Linda Blair, have you got a picture of your pet on your phone? Show her your pet, ask her about her charity. I did both of those things. She loved me. I had a great experience with Linda Blair, but now I've heard lots of horror stories about, she'll only write like two things on your poster. She won't do anything that, if your mother sucks, what in hell, she's not
Right.
going to put that there. She's not going to, and that she can be very,
Yeah, I walked up to her with a dog's rib cage around my neck. That's probably why.
ooh, yeah, that probably did it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I won't get into it, but yeah, she wasn't too friendly the first time I met her.
Mm. That's the only time I've met her, but like I said, I had a good experience because I was given some intel, and yeah.
Over the years, she's gotten nice. As behind the scenes, I've seen her really nice with people and really nice with fans. So it's that's time with her has kind of been fixed. I've
That's
had her,
good.
I see her and I think of her as a nice person now.
That's good. That's good. And here's, I have people who are familiar with my channel have heard me say this before. I have a philosophy with conventions and with, guests at conventions and with fans who go to conventions too. Celebrities are just people like you and
Yeah,
I. They show up to this convention. Maybe they're jet lagged. Maybe they're hungover. Maybe they just found out that they've lost out on a big part. That their significant others cheating on them. That their business manager stolen all their money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They've got
exactly.
problems. But if they were on the set of a film, in between action and cut, they'd be professional. When I walk up to your table with cash in hand, that's action. When I
Hmm.
walk away, that's cut. So give me a good memory, because I think ultimately that's what you're paying for. That's what you're walking away with.
Exactly.
You'll get the picture, the autographed picture. You'll put that on your wall or in a folder, and then you'll put it away. You'll post the photo of you with them on Facebook, and everybody go, "Hey, look, that's awesome!" And then it goes away. The memory is what stays forever. So if you walk away with a good memory, then I think it's money well spent.
I agree.
But there's a flip side to that where I think the fans have to have some professionalism and decorum also, and not treat the celebrity like they're some kind of, what I mean, trained monkey, and, do what I tell you to do right now because I'm paying you to do it. Don't sit there and try and have, a meaningful conversation with them when you've got 100 people behind you waiting. You know what I mean? Be courteous, have some decorum as a fan, and you'll have a good
Exactly.
experience, I think.
Exactly. It goes both ways.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's sort of my philosophy with conventions. And when Eric, who is a client of yours, I think everybody familiar with my channel is familiar with Eric Freeman, my buddy Eric.
Yeah.
When he was doing his first big convention, that's how I explained it to him. I said, you're giving people a good memory. They're going to get the photo, they're going to get whatever, but ultimately they're walking away with that memory. So, give them their money's worth with a good memory. And if you give them a good memory, they're not going to remember how much they paid. They're just going to remember it was a good memory.
And they're going to come back the next
And
time they see you.
absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the celebrities that I've noticed over the years who are kind of jerky in 2009, 10, 11, they weren't on the scene in 16, 17, 18. You know what I mean? They kind of got petered out
Yeah.
because the promoters want celebs there that people want to see. And if a celeb has a bad reputation, they're not going to book them.
Unless you're a high ticket, celebrity like William Shatner, isn't warm and fuzzy. He doesn't have that reputation at all.
Yeah,
But he's gonna bring people into the building.
exactly.
He's an icon, so he can get away with being kind of, a little bit of a curmudgeon.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Some other folks can't, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's William Shatner. You kind of expect him to be a little curmudgeon-y, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And the guy's in his late 80s. I give him credit for even traveling anymore.
exactly, yeah. I saw him at a convention a few years ago, and he was great. I watched this panel with him, and he was just like all over the stage and very active and very, very funny in that
Yeah.
curmudgeon-y kind of way. And somebody asked him like, "Oh, what do you?" Something about Star Wars fans, and he was like, "Oh, I wish they'd get a life." You know what I mean? So he had a great sense of humor in that curmudgeon-y kind of
Right.
way.
Kind
So I
of.
mean, yeah,
Yeah, kind of Don Rickles esque a little
there you
bit.
go. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. How did you become? Well, you kind of mentioned that you became a talent rep by virtue of you got tired of seeing the same people at conventions, and you wanted to reach out to people who'd never done conventions and get them
Well,
in
yeah,
there.
that happened, and then I thought about it, and I kind of just put it on the back burner. I said, as I mentioned, I was working full time. I was making decent money, and I said, I don't know if I want to step into this business, and I kind of put it in the back burner. And then I met Charlie Band, who's one of my idols, from
Uh,
Empire and Full Moon. That's where I got my company name. Merged the two.
uh-huh.
But I met him in 2005 on Halloween night, and we hit it off. We talked for a while. Unfortunately, there weren't that many people there because it was a Monday night, and it was late, and it was Halloween. He was in Philly doing his road show that he used to do, his Full Moon road show, and we hit it off. And then about a month later, I got an email from somebody at Full Moon that said, "Hey, Charlie, wanted us to email you and see if you're interested in working for him."
Ah,
And I said, "Yeah, for sure." And they said, "Well, don't you want to know what it is?" And I said, "Yeah, I probably should." I said, "But anything I can do for Charlie is an honor."
yeah.
And they said, "Well, he wants you to go be his convention guy, his own road guy, where you go set up his tables and sell the merchandise and be his direct go between with the fans." And I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot, sure." That was the first time that I'd ever kind of been behind the scenes at a con. It was Monster Mania in
Hmm.
2005, I think. And I
Hmm.
said, "Well, check with Dave Hagen. He's the promoter. We're friends. Make sure he's okay with me doing this." And he was. So thanks to Dave. And that was my first weekend, working on the other side of the table, working with Charlie, and it was great. I got to kind of get a peek behind the curtain, and I knew his filmography, so I was a good salesman. I knew what to sell people, and if they had questions about any of his films, I gave them good answers and in-depth answers. And so I did that for maybe 3 years, and then Charlie's the one that kind of said, you should do this more with actors. He said, "You do a great job representing me, but you're going to be kind of pigeonholed, and you should look into some doing this for some actors." He says, "I know a lot of actors who would want to do these, but they don't know how to go about doing it." He said, "Maybe
Hmm.
you can do what you do for me for them."
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started. I said, "Well, I'll give it a shot." And my first client was his brother, Richard Band,
Uh-huh.
and he knew he had friends, who wanted to do cons that were actors, and they had friends, and then I started to seek people out myself, and it kind of took off.
Yeah. How do you how do you approach a celeb who you think would be a draw at conventions, who may not have any idea what a convention is or convention does? How do you approach them and sort of make that connection and sell to them the idea of attending conventions?
Well, I have like a sell sheet, on my computer that I send that's formatted, but basically it gives them the lowdown of what the events are. I give them kind of an estimate of how much time they're going to be needed, and I ask them first. I say, "Do you like meeting fans? Do you like talking to people? Do you like having conversations? Because that's mostly what you're going to be doing."
Yeah. Yeah.
And the first question or the second question an actor usually has is, "How much can I make doing this?" Because
Right.
obviously, that's the main draw. And I know the market well enough where I have somewhat of an idea what somebody can make based on numbers that I've seen from other people.
Hmm.
And that's I give them a ballpoint number, and then I pitch them to promoters, and I say, "This is who I can bring. This is the minimum that they need. This is the class of airfare. Here's the rest of the requirements, and the promoter will either say yes, no, or counteroffer.
Who's have you had any? And you don't have to name names, but it'd be nice. Who's who's your Moby Dick, the one that you really tried to hook, and they you thought you had them, but they got away, and you really wanted to get this person. Who was that?
Uh, well, I had a few really big clients booked last year. That I'd been working on for years, and they kind of fell apart because of the pandemic. But before then, just guys who wouldn't necessarily have huge lines, but personal favorites like Everett McGill. I've talked to him on the phone a couple times, and he sent me autographs through the mail. I've talked to him. I've talked to Craig Wasson,
Oh,
Richard Mole, just really kind of old villain genre actors. Like my favorite actor of all time was Richard Lynch.
oh,
So I gravitate towards these guys that really do good villains, really play good villains. And
yeah,
there's been a couple of kind of Moby Dicks like that where I've talked to them and I've come close, and then they say, "Yeah, I appreciate it, but that's not
uh,
really my thing." And they're all older now. They're on their late 70s, and
yeah,
it's kind of like, if it's not going to happen now, it's probably not going to happen.
not gonna happen. Yeah, uh,
But you never know. You never know. Keep trying.
yeah, exactly. Why don't we do a giveaway?
Okay.
Dom has been generous enough to offer up some autograph photos of his clients for us tonight to give away. And what have you got for us first?
So I kind of tried to mix it up. I wanted to do. I know you have some non-horror viewers too. By the
Sure.
way, I looked at your page. You've been doing this for a long time. I didn't realize you've been making YouTube videos. Like I stopped scrolling at one point. And I was like, this never ends.
I've been at it for a while. That's true.
First one I'll do is a horror one. Uh, Pretty cool Wishmaster photo. Signed by
Ooh,
Andrew Divoff.
Wishmaster. Yes, Andrew Divoff,
Yeah, we'll do that one first.
the Wishmaster himself. Very, very cool photo. Okay, here we go. If you
Somebody's
would
probably
like,
have to fight Jeremy for that, right?
Jeremy would love that. Trust me. Um, he'd be like, Wishmaster. All right. So if you would like to win the Wishmaster photo signed by Andrew Divoff, here is the question: how many Amityville movies are there?
Wow. I don't even know if I know that. There's so many of them.
There's there's a lot. So first person who can answer that question, how many Amityville movies are there? 7-5. Oh, you are way off. 7-5-6-8. Hold on. My buddy Gabe Kaokla has got Dave says 100. Someday, very soon, there will be 100 of those movies. I promise you. Gabe, congratulations, sir. You have won the Andrew Divoff autographed photo. Send me a message on Instagram and we'll get that out to you, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, they'll send you the info. You let me know where to ship it.
Exactly. 16. Can you believe there are 16 Amityville movies out there?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And people, it was all a hoax. Even they admitted it was a hoax. They admitted it. But 16.
Although I'll admit, I do love the one at the clock. I enjoy that one. It's about time.
Oh yeah, I need to get back. I've not seen any of the Amityville movies in forever, and oh my goodness, those movies. But congratulations, Gabe, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Was that a guess, or did you seriously know that there's 16 of those freaking movies? If you've seen them all,
You have way too much time.
oh my goodness gracious. Well, now that you're on we're going to do more giveaways as we progress here, so don't be dejected. We've got more giveaways coming.
By the way, just because it was an Andrew Divoff picture, I got to do a plug. Andy's a good friend, and I'm not sure if people know he owns a brewery that he's trying to get going in Lake Arrowhead called Three Marm, THREEMARM. So if you look him up on Instagram, follow him. Because he's trying to build it, and he has a special Wishmaster beer that he made. It's called Gin Hollow Brew. It's got the gin on the label. It's really cool. He's got a bunch of different flavors of beer, and he's trying to get his business going. So that's check it out. Check them out on social media.
Very cool. Three Marm, you
Yeah.
say?
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. A Wishmaster beer. I want to be cool if like you opened it. There was like a little something inside, like with Andrew's voice. I wish, Uh,
You may sound like that after you drink enough of them. I actually
uh,
have an empty bottle. You can't see it, but it's up there. I'm not a beer guy. I just don't like beer. I'm more of a wine and scotch, not together, but wine and scotch separate. But I had him sign an empty bottle just because I thought it was cool.
that
The
is
gin.
that is pretty cool. Yeah, that's very cool. So yeah, Three Marm. Look that on Instagram. Check it out. Give it a follow. Help Andrew help the Wishmaster out, and he may grant you a wish. You never know.
He might.
Now that you're on the other side of the table, so to speak, when it comes to conventions, has the experience changed for you? Is it still fun, or has the business part of it is it still fun, or is it just like it's a business?
I still have fun doing it. I mean, it's definitely the fan aspect definitely fades over years of doing it because you're focused on the business end of it because that's your job. You kind of have to focus on that.
Hmm.
Um, but I still have fun doing it. I still enjoy seeing people. Like I say, a lot of the same fans that come and get autographs that I knew before I was an agent, and even ones that I met, just from coming to different cons and getting autographs from my clients. So I still have a lot of fun doing it. I mean, it's a lot of work. The number one question I always get is people ask me how I get into this. How do I do your job? I want your job, and I said, well, you really don't even know what my job is. Like the end result of the work. You really don't know. It's not going from town to town, hanging out with celebrities and going to conventions. That's after all the work's been done.
Well,
That's the show and tell.
you do an incredible amount of travel.
Yeah, it's 35 weeks normally pre-pandemic, on the road. So it takes a toll on you. It's a lot of work. It's fun. It's rewarding, like any job, but you have to be dedicated. It's a lot of work.
Well, I mean, just and thinking about travel expenses on top of that, flights and hotels, and some of your hotels might be taken care of by the
Yeah,
convention, but still flights, and I mean, you're eating out a lot, and just
yeah,
that kind of that takes a toll. Lots
yeah.
of travel takes a toll.
Plus,
You
I've
start.
got staff. I have a couple staff that I bring with me sometimes. I've got to pay them and schedule everything. It's a lot of work. It is.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, definitely. You've worked with some incredible clients over the years. Larry Cohen, the late Larry Cohen, Stuart Gordon, Larry Drake, just to name a few that are unfortunately no
Yeah.
longer with us. And Larry Cohen in particular would have been somebody I would have loved to have done one of these with and just picked his brain about all the great movies he made completely outside of, the studio realm. You know what I mean? A true indie, you know what I mean, auteur.
Yeah, Larry was great. I really miss him. He was one of the most. He was the funniest person I've ever met. I mean, I've hung out with Rob Schneider. I've met Bob Saget. I've met David Spade. Like I've hung out with like professional comedians, and Larry was the funniest person I've ever met. He did stand up before he became a writer
Yeah,
in New
yeah,
York.
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen King Cohen, the documentary, but if you haven't, you should.
I have, as a matter of fact. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
very good documentary.
Yeah, no, he
Um,
was he was a great friend. I got a tour of his mansion in Beverly Hills, and I got to
oh,
see he had a bunch of props from all his different movies. I got to hold the "It's Alive, Baby," the original one. He had
wow.
that in his office. I got a picture with me and him in that. Uh, I have some screen used stuff containers up there in the shelf. It was a dream knowing Larry. I really miss him.
That's super cool. Super, super cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And Wilford
Zombie,
Brimley. Wilford Brimley we just lost too. He was
the
a great
great
guy.
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott
absolutely.
Wilson. Scott
Scott
Wilson,
Wilson.
who kind of blew the doors open for me. He got me doing this full time. He's the reason I started doing representing talent full time with
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah. And Scott Wilson, from a lot of people, a lot of my followers, of course, know him from The Walking Dead and probably Behind the Mask with Leslie Vernon, but he was in tons of stuff,
In
tons of stuff.
Cold Blood and the Great Gatsby and In the Heat of the Night. He's in
Hmm.
some classic films.
Exactly. Yeah. Zombie asks, can people contact Dominic for autographs from celebrities? You absolutely can. I've posted that link in the chat. It's fullempirepromotions.com. There it is.
Yep. Some of my clients are available, for mail in or custom ordering. Some that are just pre-signed photos up there, and some of them I haven't got to do it yet.
So go check out the website, and you know, lots of cool stuff over there. Just some of your current roster right now today includes, of course, my buddy Eric Freeman, his on-screen big brother Robert Brian Wilson, Dylan McDermott, Billy Zane, Dee Wallace, basically the whole ET cast. Barbara Crampton, Henry Thomas, Daniel Stern, Billy Zane, Mitch Pileggi. The list goes on and on and on. So I'm sure those, during a good year, those kind of folks keep you very, very, very busy.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. Dennis O'Hare, George Wendt. I mean, I've got a really, really good group of clients that are fun and easy to work with, and collaborators.
And not just from genre movies. I mean, Rob Schneider,
Nick Carter. Nick Carter is one of my clients.
Nick Carter. Yeah, just a very wide array of folks. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. Don't worry, Johnny. We're going to have more giveaways. Don't worry. We got more coming.
Yeah, got some good ones.
Dan mentions the Radu figure behind you. Actually, Radu is a client of Dom's.
He is. Yeah, most people can't pronounce his name, but it's Honest Cove.
There you go. I wasn't going to try. I wasn't going to try it, but
it's spelled Anders Hove, but you pronounce it Honest Cove. He actually is a Danish actor. He lives over in Copenhagen. And maybe once every couple of years we'll get some species reunion together, with him and Ted Nicolao doing stuff, and Kevin Spiritus.
Yeah.
And that figure's signed too. It's signed by
him. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Stubbs says Scott Wilson is amazing in the 9th configuration. I forgot he was even in that.
That's what I know him from. That's my favorite film that he was in.
Yeah. Wow.
Because as I'd mentioned, Richard Lynch was my favorite actor. And Richard Lynch was in that. So there was a period when I was young where I was seeking out every Richard Lynch movie to watch. And I saw 9th Configuration. I saw Scott. That was the first thing that I saw him. And he was nominated for a Golden Globe for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you have, we've talked about you approaching people to represent. Do you have a lot of people coming to you asking for representation? And how's that process go? Do you have, because you've got a very lengthy client list already, do you have to be very selective when it comes to the vetting process, or how's that process work for you?
I mean, unfortunately, 90% of the celebrities who come to me, they want representation. I don't want, just because, not because I'm not a fan or I don't think they're good clients, but as you had mentioned, I have a full roster. I have to be selective with who I take on because I can only manage so many people. And if they're people who have done a lot of conventions already, I'm not going to name anybody, but there's been quite a few that they've been doing conventions for 30 years. They've done 10 cons a year for the past 10 years, and they've been through 5 different managers that they fire or they leave, or for whatever reason they're no longer with them. So those ones I kind of pass on just because I can't really do anything different for them unless they have a big, something new that they can promote, or a big movie, or they're the lead in a Rob Zombie movie or something that hits the con market.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they're most of the ones that come to me and say we want representation. I usually don't have interest in.
Yeah. Eric was actually telling me at one convention there was a guy, and he didn't mention his name, but he was like, this guy was all over Dominic and all over us, me and Robert. To like, do you think he'll take me? Can you talk to him? Can you blah 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 blah? And so
I think it's some actors just don't understand. They're known for one role, from a film 30 years ago, and they never really had any other credits, and they think they can do cons for forever from that one role. And I tell them, eventually that it's going to wear out. Like, you've got to take a break, right. Sit back for 2 or 3 years, don't do any cons, and then come back once there's a new generation of fans that need your autograph that are going to conventions.
Yeah.
So it was one of those guys that I was referring to. Like a one credit kind of actor, and he'd done a lot of cons already and kind of saturated the market.
Yeah. Lope Vision Films, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, Dominic, it would be awesome to have your clients at Mad Monster Party Arizona. We would love to have them in Arizona. Have you booked anybody at any Mad Monster events?
Yeah, I've done it. I'm good friends with the promoter, Eben, and Kevin, his partner. I've
Mhm.
worked with them for a number of years. I've always booked clients, unfortunately, where I was somewhere else, so I was never able to physically go myself. I had to send one of my staff there. But I think I had Mitch Pileggi in Arizona
Mm.
last year, or the year before. I've booked William Catt, Steve Railsback. A few there. The problem with the Mad Monster, maybe not a problem, but they only book 13 guests,
Right.
so it doesn't take him long to fill up his guest list.
Yeah. I've been to two Mad Monster events in Charlotte, and they were both very good events, very well organized, very, one of my pet peeves when it comes to conventions. And Lopke, thank you again for that $5 super chat. Very kind of you. One of my pet peeves with a convention is if I need to ask a staff member a question, where's this at? Where do I go for that? And their answer is, I don't know. That's a huge whatever I that just I don't know should not be in a convention staff's vocabulary. And if they honestly don't know, get on that mic, get on that walkie-talkie, and find out. You know what I mean? Um,
Exactly.
are there any conventions that we've talked about vetting celebrities and whatnot? Are there any just conventions that you don't have to name names, that you just won't book a celeb at because they're not on the level, or they just kind of for whatever reason you try to avoid?
I mean, honestly, no. I work with everybody. It's certain cons obviously can only afford certain clients. The upper
Right.
tier clients. I will get emails from promoters that run decent shows, but they just don't draw well enough to bring like a Rob Schneider or like a Billy Zane. And those are the kind you kind of have to know who's going to sell in what market.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do is I never want to ask for a guarantee for a client that I know that they can't make at a certain con, because I'm partners with the promoter in a way. We're both bringing the talent in. They're putting up the funds. I'm bringing the talent, and I want everybody to do well. I want the promoter to make money. I want my client to make money. I want to make money. So that's my system kind of when I book.
Hmm.
I know certain areas talent are bigger, certain areas they're not. It's really strange. I can't figure out why, but it's just the way it is.
I'm fortunate because this area is it's the convention belt. You know what I mean? It's the
You're in
Kentucky,
Kentucky?
Kentucky,
Oh yeah.
Tennessee, the Carolinas, Ohio, Indiana, really all up and down the East Coast is there's a lot of or just conventions in general, not horror, but pop culture conventions up and down the East Coast and right in this area. And I was
Well,
talking,
it's understandably here
yeah,
because L.A. kind of has that stigma of everybody's trying to break into the business in L.A.
right,
So
right,
they want to be the one signing autograph. Like if an actor does a convention in California, they're probably going to get a box full of business cards and headshots and scripts
yeah,
from people coming up asking them how to get into the business, and I want to
yeah,
be you, I want your job. As far as Midwest East Coast, they're all fans. They don't care about
exactly.
getting into the business. They're all diehards. They all know the genre.
Yeah, if you're living in LA, why go to a convention when you can run into the person in the grocery store? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
and people out there are probably a little more jaded to celebrities, and so
Yeah,
it's not like a big deal.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've heard that a lot of conventions that take place out there or even close to there kind of don't do as well. They want to bring them east.
Right,
So,
right.
do you have any trepidation when it comes to first time conventions with booking people there? Because I know I've heard from other agents and say that, if it's a first time show, you kind of want to, because you don't know, are these people just kind of, are any trepidation with first time events?
Well, yeah, sure. Because unless I know the promoter and I know they're honest, because you never know. I mean, it's just the unknown, right? You don't know
Hmm.
if these guys. It's easy to agree to a number. It's easy to say, sure, 10 grand, I'll bring them in. But then are they going to have the funds? When you get there and it's crickets, the whole time you're thinking, man, these guys are going to be able to pay.
Yeah.
And really, we have contracts that we do, appearance contracts, but who's going to want to hire a lawyer for $10,000 agreement? Like it's just
Right.
so I am apprehensive with first time shows, but again, I usually offer them clients like the starter kit. I have like D Wallace, William Catt, Like the ones that I know are always going to do well. They're always going to draw. And I
Mhm.
tell first time promoters that. I say you might want to stay away from the obscure guests until you establish your con. Like bring
Yeah.
in the Kane Hodgers, bring in the Tony Todd, bring in the people that you know are going to draw, and if you put them on an ad, it's going to sell. If you put Pinhead's image on a newspaper ad, people are going to come. So
Mhm.
bring Doug Bradley, and like I said, I have a few clients like that. The D.
Yeah.
Wallace's, the William Katz, and they're the ones that I usually pitch for first time shows.
Dee Wallace is great. I met her at my very first convention. She was one of the first people I met, and I was just kind of like, "You were like my second mom growing up."
She's
which,
awesome.
yeah, she probably was like, but yeah, she was sweet, and I've seen her be sweet with a lot of people at other conventions when it comes to that kind of being motherly. I mean, now I'm more, I love her for Cujo and the Howling, but I mean, when I was a kid, she's the mom.
Right, exactly. Until you see Three from Hell,
Oh yeah, I forgot. I
and
forgot about that.
then
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the Frighteners.
yeah. That kind of destroys the whole mother thing there.
But she's somebody that always does well, always.
Nico, thank you for the $5 super chat, sir. He says thanks for a great night for us in the horror fan land. Piz, welcome, Dominic.
Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Very
Where
kind
where
of you.
where where is Nico? It's an interesting name. Santiago.
Nico actually lives out in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So yeah, he's one of those jaded horror fans. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
No,
Nico's a great guy. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, geez. Conventions have become such a big business. And I think even though they've become such a huge business, there's still that sort of stigma to them that only it's only a place for sort of like really washed up people to make a few bucks. I remember when I was telling my mom I was going to a convention the first time. She was like, who are you? You're not seeing any big guests there. And I was like, well, yeah, there's some pretty big people there. And she was, really? I thought only old washed up has been celebrities did those things. I was like, no, this is a whole new thing. You know what I mean?
well, it's funny you mentioned that because for a while, for years, I want to say pre-Walking Dead. I think Walking Dead kind of made cons mainstream,
Uh-huh.
just because there's a certain kind of fandom and certain kind of coolness where you can watch an actor on a TV show and then go to a con that same weekend and they look exactly like they do on the show, like they're stepping out of the screen. And I think Walking Dead kind of in a way, made cons mainstream because you were having brand new actors on the hottest show on TV down the
Mhm.
street from you signing autographs, or in the city from you signing autographs. And I think that really kind of changed the business of conventions and an aspect. It made the agencies get involved. The big Hollywood agencies that
Mhm.
represent these guys for theatrical work.
Mhm. Yeah,
For
I was.
because for years that was the stigma. I would call up an agent at ICM and say, "Hey, I'm interested in representing your client," and they would say, "Well, they don't do that. That's only they still have a career. They're still working."
Mhm.
And then once they saw all their clients doing cons through people like me and Sean and Chris Rowe and different agents, then they wanted a piece of it. Then they said, "Wow, well maybe we should look into this." And they
Yeah,
started opening up personal appearance divisions
yeah,
and having somebody, probably in the mailroom, that some 20-year-old clerk in the mailroom, you're in charge of personal appearances at conventions now.
yeah. I actually I'm going to talk about that here momentarily, but yeah, 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 and the Walking Dead thing. That's kind of a lot of horror fans, including myself, after a little while got really fed up with the Walking Dead people at conventions because you knew that convention was going to be oversold, super stuffed, and just probably be a nightmare to attend from the outsiders. You know what I mean? This is our thing, and we got all these outsiders coming in. And I remember, I won't name names, but I was told that a very popular Walking Dead actor, uh, he did a weekend at a convention, and on the final night there, he said the cash stacked in that room from just that weekend was like a scene out of Scarface. But it wasn't drug money. It was convention money, and it was stacked to the ceiling. He said, and I knew a family who they knew that I went to horror conventions, and they were they were just so in love with Norman Reedus. They had to meet Norman Reedus, so they were asking me, well, what happens there? How does this happen? That happen? Blah blah blah. They bought VIP passes, they bought photo ops, they bought autographs, they got, like, they bought rooms. They were into this convention thousands of dollars a month before they even stepped foot into the arena. But that was the draw of The Walking Dead, and the convention promoters would be crazy not to have booked them, because they're making money everybody is making hand over fist. That's cooled off a lot. I don't see those Walking Dead people booked at a lot of horror conventions anymore. They kind of have their own thing. But yeah, for a while there, The Walking Dead was like, that was the ire of the hardcore horror fan, hardcore horror convention goer.
Yeah, no, and for years, Scott Wilson wouldn't do them. The Walking Dead cast were doing them for 2-3 years, and I kept asking his manager over and over, because, as I said, I loved Scott from Ninth Configuration and all his other, before he was on Walking Dead, and I was nagging his manager endlessly, and finally he called me and said, "Tell me about these things. Why should I do them?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Talk to some of your co-stars." And he said, "Oh, these actors are coming back to the set with brand new cars, and they're all buying houses." And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
Well,
and that's one thing that has certainly taken that stigma away about, only has-beens, washed-up has-beens do conventions. When you see A-list people being booked at these shows, people from the freaking Avengers movie, and not just, like the third, you know what I mean? The third henchman of Thanos. We're talking about, like, freaking Thor is at a convention. Captain America is at a convention. Scarlett Johansson is at a convention. So that's definitely completely sort of changed the perception of what a convention is, and how much you can get from a convention. That, like you said, the big talent agencies, the CAAs and ICMs of the world, have started their own wings to represent convention bookings.
exactly. And like I said, Walking Dead was the catalyst. They
Yeah.
were the first ones, and then once all these other actors saw that actors from the hottest show on TV were doing these cons, they said, "Well, maybe I should do it. Maybe
Yeah.
I should try it."
Dan would like to know, do you represent any directors?
Unfortunately, not Matt. I mean, I had, as we mentioned, Larry Cohen. I had really good directors that I loved, that we lost. We lost Stuart Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he was a good friend, a good client. Uh, I do have David Cronenberg booked into a show, which I'm over the moon about.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, I've been trying for years to get him, and the time was right. He's finally said yes last year.
Ah,
And then all the pandemic hit, of course.
yeah,
After getting him to do a show, but he is rebooked for Texas Frightmare this year,
very
May.
cool.
So he'll be a huge one if it happens. Let's hope.
Let's hope. Yeah.
He was a dream client, and then I have some kind of cult directors like Ted Nicolao that I
Mm-hmm.
book, every couple of years with some Species reunion. Louis Teague, I'll book him when I do the Cujo reunions.
Oh yeah.
Directors, unless they're like a Cronenberg or a Carpenter, they really don't sell on their own. You have to book
Yeah.
them with reunions.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless it's like a Carpenter or a Cronenberg, booking a director could probably,
Right.
because they're not,
Yeah, I mean, I prefer meeting directors more than actors personally. I like
Yeah.
meeting writers just because they have better stories and they're kind of more down to earth, and they were there for the whole project. The actors were there for their scenes, they know their scenes, and then they leave.
Yeah.
As whereas a director, is passionate about the film. He watched it from a baby to when it was an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Cole is gay says, Dominic, if you could have a donut with a director, who would it be and what kind of donut? Thanks.
Well, I've been doing no carbs for almost 2 years now.
Okay. So donuts are out of the
no
picture.
donuts. But if I could, do they have to be alive? I'm guessing.
I don't. He doesn't. He doesn't make any specifications. Just alive or dead, doesn't matter.
Wow. Well, I guess I would pick probably a keto-free donut, keto-friendly donut,
Mhm.
and dead ones probably Hitchcock,
Ooh, good. Mhm.
and then alive ones. I hate to be stereotypical with Spielberg, just because Jaws is my favorite movie.
Ah,
Yeah, can't imagine that conversation. It'll be the slowest donut I've ever ate in my life.
Yeah, just picking at it, that's cool. Yeah,
Or De Palma. De Palma would be up there. I'm a huge De Palma fan.
De Palma would be good. I'd love to meet De Palma at a
Me too.
convention. Oh, that'd be so cool. My buddy Christian's in the chat. He says, I attend Texas Frightmare. Well, Christian, you're going to have the opportunity to meet David Cronenberg this year. So,
yeah, Christian. Hopefully we'll see you there. Hopefully it happens. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I've been hearing good things.
mm-hmm. Imagine having some wine with a kind of tipsy David Cronenberg. What stories could come out there, Tom?
Oh, God.
Oh, my
I can't imagine. I'd probably wake up with like a third arm sewn to my forehead. And,
a video cassette like surgically implanted inside you.
Exactly. Be film reels in my eye instead of my pupils.
There you go. Yeah. There's a story. The actress Jewel Staite. Are you familiar with Jewel Staite? She was
I know the name.
Yeah. She was in Firefly and Serenity, and she's done a lot of.
Yes.
Yeah, she's on the convention scene.
Yeah.
She was talking about the convention scene and how big it is, and she was like, there's repercussions now for actors if they choose conventions over actually working, doing a film. And she mentioned that, and she said, well, but why should I fly halfway around the world away from my kids and my husband to work on a movie for a month that's going to pay me but I can go to a convention and get that amount or more for a weekend.
Right.
So she's turning down acting roles to do conventions because she's able to stay closer to home, and it's more money. And the industry is kind of saying, okay, well, we're not going to give you opportunities to act anymore.
Yeah. It's both sides of the coin. I've talked to actors who love acting. They love their craft, and they'd rather do an independent film and make a couple of grand than go to a convention and make 10 grand or 20 grand. They just love acting. They love their craft. So it kind of goes both ways. I guess it depends on the talent.
Yeah. Well, why don't we give away another autographed photo? What have you got for us?
We'll do a non-horror one this time.
Okay.
She's kind of a rare one. This is an autograph from Amy Yazbek.
Ooh.
From Problem Child. There.
Very cool. Amy Yazbek from Problem Child.
Again, she hasn't done many signings, so it's kind of a rare autograph.
Rare autograph there from Amy Yazbek. Yep. All right, we've got some trivia coming up here. Put your thinking caps on. All right, here we go. Speaking of David Cronenberg, what supernatural power do the Scanners possess? First person who can answer that question will win the Amy Yazbek signed photo.
That's a good question. Everybody should know this.
Everybody should. Where are we going? Joe Reese is blowing up brains. Close. I mean, well, that's what they do. Yeah.
Nah. You're thinking of the news, man. That's in the news.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. I think we've got a winner here. Loki Vision Film says telepathic. That's close enough. I would also accept telekinesis. But telepathic, we'll accept that. So congratulations, Lopke Vision Films. Send me a message on social media, either Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or through my website. Let me know your address, and we'll get that photo sent out to you.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, very cool. We were just talking about Eric Freeman a little while ago, and Eric is now in the chat. He says, don't know, but I want the photo.
Hey, Eric.
So Eric,
good to see you.
Eric must be an Amy Yazbek fan.
Eric, are you an Amy Yazbek fan? Well, I guess, if anybody who'd met her would be. She's awesome. She's hilarious. I mean, she was married to John Ritter.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned that in the chat. The great John Ritter.
Yeah. She's great stories about him.
Oh, obviously, I bet. Obviously. Yeah, that'd be somebody cool to have a glass of wine with too, and talk to her. Yeah.
And she's really funny. Really good sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Eric's checking it out.
Yeah, Eric's hanging out with us. You never know who's going to hop on here. You never know. So yeah, what we've been talking about is just how big a business conventions have become prior to 2020. And as I said when we opened, I love conventions. I love going to conventions. I love talking about conventions. But last year, it was pretty much limited to just talking about conventions. And for somebody like you, Dominic, who makes their living via conventions, last year had to be rough.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a challenging year, for almost everybody, unless you were the CEO of Purell or toilet paper brand owner.
That's true.
Uh, but for all of us, we saw new challenges. But in a way, I think challenges are good because they kind of force us to think outside the box and kind of force us to step out of the comfort zone and yeah, because as I said in the beginning, I'm an optimist. There's always a way, really. There's especially with all the technology we have today. There's always a way to kind of keep things going. It's easy just to kind of mope and bitch about stuff and say my career's over so I decided not to do that and maybe March April once I realized that cons were probably done for the year because in the beginning none of us really knew, right? We were all saying maybe this will pass in a month, maybe towards the fall it'll be okay, and then as it progressively got worse, kind of agreed with myself that this was done. Conventions weren't going to happen this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, what's the main ingredient to a convention? Connecting with celebrities and fans, connecting the two. That's the main attraction at a convention. For most people, I mean, you've got the vendors and things, but you can always buy that stuff online. So then I started putting together digital events with clients. I trained myself on Zoom and kind of experimented with different programs and thought, well, if I can digitize a con, have like a digital version of it, where it's affordable and it's easy to use, then maybe it's a way to keep things going. Not so much for the money, because I knew it wasn't going to be anywhere near what I made at a physical con, but
Right.
more for, to keep the connection, to keep people from losing their mind, to kind of keep them connected to their favorite celebrities and for celebrities to stay connected with their fans and give them something to do. And also to keep my business relevant. Keep the social media going. You could look me up on social media. The Full Empire Promotions is on Instagram and Twitter and all that. But I wanted to kind of keep building that and didn't want to let it just kind of falter away. And they went pretty well. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think you watched a few of them, Justin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's not anywhere near as cool as doing it in person, but it's the closest we're gonna get,
Right.
to this. And so it's kind of been a conjunction of those digital cons and then private signings, which if people don't know what a private signing is, a lot of online vendors that you see selling autographs get their product from going to cons. Like there's this group of dealers that come up to agents and say, no, you've got Billy Zane here. How much for 100 signed pictures? And we do like a backdoor deal. Give them a bulk rate, and they'll come before the con starts, an hour before the con starts, and the talent will sign all the photos or sign all that, and then they sell them online. So that's been keeping us going too. Reaching out to different vendors and saying, I've got so and so. Do you want to do some deals? Because they still need product. They
Right.
can't go to conventions to get them, and online shopping is bigger than ever now because
Right.
people are stuck home and there's impulse buys and they're bored. So that was most of my year last year, setting up private signings, either through the mail or the vendors will meet the actor at like a Starbucks in LA and they'll sign them all, and then they get them authenticated and then they sell them. So it's been a combination of that last year, the private signings and the virtual digital stuff,
Hmm.
which again, doesn't have the same appeal as in person. It's not as fun, but it's what we have.
It's the best we can do at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lopke Vision Film says, thank you. I'm a huge fan of hers, meaning Amy Asbeck. So that's cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We'll do at least one more
I've
giveaway.
got 3 more.
3 more. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got so don't fret. We've got a lot more coming up here.
You guys better follow me on social media too.
Yeah. Look up Full Empire Promotions, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Dom's all over the place. Or just go to fullempirepromotions.com. Let me put that link back in the chat.
Yeah, all those social media links are right on the front page of the website. Yeah, you never know what you're going to see on there. Those are cool things coming up. Have you participated in any digital cons, Justin? Because I know you went to a lot, but I'm sure you're missing them.
I've not done any digital ones. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I'm always curious what people think of them. I mean, I get feedback when my clients do them, and fans seem to really enjoy them. But you get the old school fans that just want to wait until they come back in person.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think the appeal is being at the hotel or the convention center, hanging out with your friends, go
Yeah.
doing it together.
Part of the appeal is the experience of being there, and just the sights, the sounds, the smells,
I don't know
you
about
know
that.
the whole 9 yards. Christian asked if Texas Frightmare is going to be back at the Dallas Airport Hotel again.
I
Do you
believe
have any?
so. Yeah, I
Okay,
believe so.
cool,
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Uh,
their normal Hyatt. I think it is right attached to DFW there, Terminal C.
cool. Let's see. Joe says, Dom, do you represent any guys who played Michael Myers?
I don't. No, I don't. Actually, technically, I don't want to spoil it in case nobody's seen it, but there's a new Adam Sandler movie, Halloween Hubie, that's on Netflix. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's a Halloween kind of horror movie spoof,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and one of my clients plays Michael Myers in that.
Okay.
So technically, yeah, I guess, but no, I think Sean Clark represents everybody who played Michael Myers ever on any movie.
Yeah, he's pretty much got
Yeah.
the whole series locked down.
Which, hey, he's the biggest fan of the series that I know, so good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I'm the I'm the guy that usually represents older talent. People joke about that. That they're all my clients are 70 and older.
But I mean, there's a place for them. There's a place for
And,
them.
and that's the stuff I'm a fan of. I'm not really too much of a fan of a lot of the newer stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about 2021. And like we've mentioned that there are a lot of conventions that are booked for this year. Some happening very, very soon. So, do you think that this is going to be a comeback for conventions in 2021? Is this a make it or break it year for conventions? What do you think?
I think it will. I think it's going to be a slow progression. As everybody said last year, it's kind of a reboot for the industry. It's kind of a reboot for everything and every aspect of our lives, really. But we're talking about conventions in general. But it is. It's a reboot. I actually went to one last July. There was a Days of the Dead in Indianapolis mid-pandemic, and I went to it and I was impressed. I mean, it was a whole different kind of animal, but
Mhm.
it still had the same convention feel. It was still fun. But I think they will come back this year. I think from what I've been hearing, I've been having meetings since the beginning of the year with different promoters. Everybody's trying to reschedule from June later in the year, from June to
Mhm.
December, trying to
Mhm.
reschedule their events. But I also think it depends on the area. Certain areas are doing better with COVID, certain states,
Mhm.
and certain states are more willing to have work than others. Not to get political, but we know the deal with that. So I think it's going to depend on the state, but I do think there's going to be a comeback this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would estimate by September, October, it's going to be full blast.
Okay.
It's going to be the big shows are going to come back.
Well, what if you've got just tell us some of the conventions that you've got people already booked at,
Right.
just to kind of give us an idea of the number of conventions that are scheduled to be back this year, and where they can see your folks.
Right, right. Well, if you go to, like as I said, the website, Full Empire Promotions, click on upcoming events, you'll see everything. I post everything in there, as well as private signings, conventions, anything that's going on with my clients, I post on there. But I've got two clients doing Mad Monster Party in Charlotte next year. Andrew Devoff will be there, and Terry Kaiser will be there.
Ah,
Terry's had both of his COVID shots. He'll be 82 this year.
wow, he does
You
not.
would you would
You
never
wouldn't
know it.
No,
You
no.
would never know it. I mean, he smokes like a chimney too. But he walks faster than me. He's got a better head of hair than me, which is hard to do. Not many people have better head of hair than me.
Uh,
But he's in amazing shape. But he'll be there. Again, you would never know his age. But
yeah.
he got both of his COVID shots. So we'll be in Charlotte, February 19th through the 21st with those two clients, and I think that's it next year. We're doing a private signing with David Spade. He's a new client, which is exciting.
David Spade.
First time signing with him. First time he's ever done any kind of signing.
Oh, cool.
and that's private. But you can, if you want to order a signed photo or pre-order anything, you can go to my website and click on upcoming events, and you'll see a link. The company is called Mintech Authentics that's doing the signing, but if you just click on the image, it'll take you right into their site from my site. I think they're still doing pre-orders until the 1st of February. So those two things in February, and then March, I think again it's still kind of iffy. People really don't know. I know Horror Hound wanted to do their event in March, but they were just told that it's probably best to push it. I can't really say what. I don't want to step on anybody's toes by saying anything else, but I'm sure they'll make an announcement soon. Yeah, I've got those two, and then everything else is kind of coming up later in the year. Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida, is a pretty big Comic Con. They moved from February to May. I think it's the 26th to 28th, towards the end of the month, and there's a number of clients doing that. It's hard to keep up because everything. I'm trying to think of what the new dates are. I'm used to the original dates. Trying to keep a calendar has been like trying to solve a Rubik's cube.
But you're busy, so I mean, clearly a lot of conventions are planning to move forward this year.
Yeah.
So let me. I've got your website pulled up here, and I've got some of the bookings already here. So let me pull that up here so everybody can see it.
Yeah, I think most promoters are unsure, but there's some virtual stuff coming up there.
Yeah. So here we've got GalaxyCon with looks like the whole ET cast. C. Thomas Howell. Wow,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
You've got the Arrow crew going to be at GalaxyCon also. There's David Spade with his private signing. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. You've got Billy Zane there, private signing for Billy.
That's it. I haven't updated. I can't really put anything official until the promoters announce it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I don't want to step on their toes. I want them to make the announcement. And these are just private signings with the Monster Squad cast coming up.
Yeah. Very cool.
So those events have already ended.
I tuned into the Mark Dacascos one. He's very cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, I love him.
That's what's been fun for me with doing the digital events. I get to kind of interview my own clients, and I find out so much that I didn't know about them. Because on the road it's usually quick conversations, or we're just talking about cons. We're not really talking about their background or personal things. And doing those interviews has been kind of fun.
Yeah, but I think what we should take away is you can't mention all of the cons that you're working with until they make announcements. Yes. But you are working with a lot of conventions, so 2021 is shaping up to be a possible comeback, and I hope it does, because I think we need it. I think we need something to look forward to and something to celebrate. And
yeah, I mean, I will say if there's a con in your town between now and whenever the pandemic ends, I guess whenever they vaccinate enough people to deem it ended, I would say if you feel comfortable, go and support it. Because the cons just need people to come back, and they're trying, but they keep getting roadblocks. And as I said, that Days of the Dead show I went, and it was great. The table, all the tables were spaced 6 feet apart. They only had maybe 12 guests. They were limited to 500 attendees a day. The vendors were all spaced out. They, everybody had to wear masks, which sucked.
Is that kind of what you're hearing from a lot of the promoters this year? That's how they're going to do it. Yeah. Sort of limited number of people in at a time, spacing, masks.
Yep.
That sort of thing.
It's the COVID friendly version of con, is what I'm hearing from at least until June.
Okay.
And then I guess, as I said, whenever they deem the pandemic over, which is enough people vaccinated, then hopefully we can go back to full blast.
Yeah.
But who knows? As I said, we really don't know. We can only just plan and cooperate and do what we can. So that's why I said, if you're comfortable going out in the pandemic, and there's a con near you, I would say just check it out.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan, for the $5 super chat. He says, "Piz for you, Jeremy and Dominic. Big thank you." Well, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
Very kind of you. If you've not left a like on the stream and you're watching on YouTube, please do so. I would appreciate that.
What's the last con you were at, Justin?
Oh gosh, I was thinking about that the other day, and I couldn't remember. It might have been Horror Hound in Cincinnati where I actually met Terry Kaiser. Um, I think that was the last one
That
I
was
went to.
Indianapolis.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
That was my last con with Danny Hicks. I lost him last year too.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Danny Hicks from Evil Dead 2. Yeah. But I love Terry. He was so cool. And it was so funny because he when I was driving around the convention to park, there he was out front smoking a cigarette. And I'm yelling to my girlfriend, there he is, it's Bernie. It's Bad News Cruise. There he is. There he is. So of course, when I meet him, my girlfriend's like, he was freaking out about you. He said he wanted. I was like, I should roll down the window and yell Bernie at him, but I'm sure that probably happened a lot. You know what I mean? Um,
I should have sent you the photo. Maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, we were at a con in Pittsburgh. I was there with Terry, and he was out smoking, and he saw that all the cosplayers on the Sunday were doing this big group photo op of all the cosplayers, like from Star Wars to everything. And he threw his smoke down and goes, "Hold on, let's get a picture of this." And he ran over it and flopped down in front of them, acted like he was dead in front of them.
that's
And
hilarious.
everybody just exploded. People couldn't stop
Uh,
laughing. There were all these flashes going off. I have the photo. I should have sent it to you to show.
oh God.
But it's just Star Wars people, horror people, and then you get Terry Kaiser slashed down in the front.
That's
So
hilarious.
he's fun. He really
Yeah.
enjoys meeting fans, and he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, he was super cool. Dan also, let's see, the Boba Fett's mentions that today was actually today would have been Toby Hooper's birthday. Yeah, he would have been 78. So
Yeah, yeah. What a shame. We're losing all our horror icons.
I know, yeah, all the Mount Rushmore of horror is there. Yeah. Let's see. Baby Herman says he has already purchased his tickets for Days of the Dead Chicago in April. So he's ready and raring to go.
Yeah, I've got some
Uh,
clients yet to be announced for that.
oh, cool, cool. So let me ask, in the chat, has anybody else in the chat already pre-ordered tickets, or have you got a date marked on your calendar for an upcoming convention? Let us know.
Or maybe ask them what actors do you want to see at cons coming up?
That's a very good question. Yes. What actors
Who should we go after?
exactly? Yeah.
And don't say Baby Yoda because I hate that fucking thing. Looks like an avocado shitted out.
What about what about what's his name, Pascal, the Mando himself, or Gina Carano, or you know what I mean? Well, Carl Weathers is on the convention scene already, I
Yeah,
believe.
he's been
So
doing them for a while. Yeah,
yeah, jeez. Gabe Keoklis is Fred Ward. He wants to see Fred Ward on the convention
that's a
scene.
good one. That's a good name. Yeah, he kind of vanished, didn't he? You really don't hear anything about Fred Ward anymore.
Yeah. Joe Reese says I want to meet Gary Busey. He's done some cons.
He's been great. Every time I met him, I've met him like 3 or 4 times. He was great.
I'd like to meet Gary Busey. Christian's excited about Cronenberg. He's the Texas Frightmare guy, so he's looking forward to Cronenberg. He says he's also like to meet Reggie Bannister.
Yeah, I've met Reggie.
Yeah, I've met Reggie too. Very cool, very nice guy. Let's see, Nev Campbell. Brett Frazier says Nev Campbell. She's done a few conventions.
She's pretty easy. She's pretty out there.
I'm sure she'll be booked at a lot more once Scream 5 is on the horizon. That's for sure.
I can't believe they're actually making another one.
I kind of am too, to be honest. Dan would like to know: does Dominic represent Ethan Embry? I don't believe you represent Ethan Embry, do you?
No, I do not.
Let's see. The mayor says he's got his tickets to Texas Frightmare Weekend. He's had them since last year. He's held on to them. All right, cool.
They've got a great guest list.
Yeah, they always do. They always do. I was going to go to the one, if not last year, but the year before, where Eric and Robert Bryan were scheduled, and something came up, and I couldn't make it to that one. But I would like to go to a Texas Frightmare because I always hear good things about that show, and they have a great guest list.
Yeah, I think they were the first con that brought Carpenter out. I think that was the first con ever.
We've got some people asking for Kurt Russell. That would be a huge one. Kurt Russell would.
I came close to him a number of years ago. I talked to him on the phone.
Oh wow!
It was actually through a client who had known him forever, I was friends with her. Unfortunately, she passed away, Mary Ellen Trainor. She was the mom in Monster Squad and like
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon and Scrooged, and she was married to Robert Zemeckis. But we were at a con, just hanging out. I was with her, and she had mentioned that she had known Kurt Russell since they were like teenagers. So she got me a phone call, a phone meeting with him,
Oh,
and
wow.
we'd actually agreed on a number, agreed on a date, and then right before I went to bring it to the promoter, he called and said, "Oh, that's my niece's wedding. I can't do it."
Oh,
And then Mary Ellen passed away, and I had no other way to get in touch with him.
damn.
And then I read he did like a wine deal. He owns his own wine vineyard. I'm not sure if you know that, but he has his own a brand of wine called Goji. And I read an
Yeah,
article.
he actually gave, I think maybe it was Jimmy Fallon a bottle of it on the show one time.
Yeah,
He mentioned
yeah.
it. Yeah,
And I read
yeah.
an article a couple of years ago saying he did like $1 billion deal, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be the guy calling him saying, "Hey, Kurt, can we do this for 100 grand?"
Yeah, yeah. He would definitely make waves, though. He would
Oh
be
yeah,
big time,
yeah.
big time, no doubt about it. A lot of people, we've got some people mentioning rock stars. There have been. What's funny about the horror convention scene is that you see like professional wrestling. You see a lot of professional wrestlers in the horror movie scene, and I've noticed a lot of rockers coming into
Mm-hmm.
the scene also. David Ellison from Megadeth. I was at a convention where the drummer from Kiss. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Um, I forgot his name.
Peter Chris.
Peter Chris. Yeah, Peter
Yeah,
Chris from Kiss was there. So it's funny because the horror convention scene kind of branches out and grabs other people and brings them in. But it's funny how the wrestling scene and the horror scene have kind of meshed. I think that's kind of strange,
well, they're both
but
violent.
that's true. They're both
You
violent.
know,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of
and there's
cool.
a lot of pop culture cons I noticed too. Look, the pure horror cons are kind of fading away. There aren't really many pure horror cons left. There's maybe a half a dozen.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of them
But
have gone to kind of gone the pop culture route.
Eric says Ted Nugent. Eric says imagine Ted Nugent.
That would be a good one.
The Nuge. Yeah, that would be a good one. That would be a good one. His if he did like a panel discussion, that would be interesting. There'd be half the people would be cheering and applauding, half the people would be walking out and
Yeah,
pissed off.
yeah. I'd love to get James Caan. I'd love to get him to do a
Ooh,
con.
James Caan would be fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. He's got tons of stories from The Godfather and all those great movies. Thank you, Robin, for the $5 super chat. He says, great chat, sir. Well, thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. Very kind of you.
And something else crazy, one of my good friends and clients was with the great Wilford Brimley. Who, as I said,
Yeah.
unfortunately we lost last year. There was a couple times where he was at a con and he was talking on the phone next to me to Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, wow.
He's like, "Oh yeah, me and Tony are best friends," and I'm like, "Oh, like, put me on the phone
Yeah.
with him."
Yeah.
He's like, "Come on, kid, he's not going to do this."
In that great Wilford Brimley voice, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. But it's like dangling a big roast beef in front of a great white.
Oh, I know.
Here it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but you can't get it.
Yeah, he would be can you imagine him in like a Hannibal photo op? You know what I mean?
Even
Jeez,
even
okay.
him there, just signing,
Yeah.
as himself would blow the doors open.
Oh my God. That's insane. Yeah. Crazy. So what do you think the future of conventions are? We've seen them. There's so many during a good year. There's just so many, and particularly in my area. Do you think that we're going to get to the point where there's just maybe, I don't know, too many, or people are burnt out, or like we mentioned earlier, you kind of see the same people.
Yeah,
I've there've been conventions that I've wanted to attend that I look at the guest list and kind of go, I've met all those people, or there's people on there that I really don't have any interest in meeting, so I'm just not going to go. So do you think there's going to be any kind of, I don't know, burnout, or what do you think the convention scene is going to be like in 10 years?
Um. Well, all I heard from the last few years was the bubble's going to burst. There were too many of them, but they kept getting bigger.
Right.
I would hear that, and then I would go out for a weekend, and it would be 30,000 people at a Horror Hound or 30,000 people at a Monster Mania, and they had to cap the ticket sales, and they had the fire marshal there. So I think as I said, cons are just becoming generational and they're becoming mainstream. And I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's hard to guess what's going to happen 10 years from now, but I think we're going to see a boom once they come back at the end of this year because it's the the absence makes the heart grow fonder
Right.
philosophy. And
Yeah.
everybody's missed them and
Yeah.
didn't appreciate them as much. Now that they're gone, they want them back. So I think we need that next big thing. As you mentioned, The Walking Dead kind of faded,
Yeah.
and then it went on to Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Stranger Things was kind of the next big like con boom.
Yeah.
And I think we need, there's going to have to be something else that comes along that keeps the momentum. But for me, I mean, I get excited about the obscure '70s and '80s horror people. I
I
mean,
kind of do too. I get more
yeah,
excited about, what I mean, that kind of than like, oh, here's I don't know, I mean,
yeah,
oh, there's Thor, whatever.
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
meet, I want to meet, this guy from the '70s TV movie, Gargoyles. That's the guy I want to meet. So,
yeah. I mean, I was at a big group dinner once, and I was sitting right across from Matt Smith, and we had an hour conversation at dinner. I had no clue who he was, no idea. I thought he worked for the con, no idea who he was.
uh,
And then the next day, that was a Saturday night. Then the Sunday, I went into the con and I see this huge line wrapped around the building, going down the street, and there he is at his table. And I was like, oh, that's the guy that I was sitting across from at dinner. And then I
uh,
Googled him, and I'm like, oh shit, he's the current Doctor on Doctor Who.
mhm,
So those are the kind of names I think that make the convention so mainstream, as we talked about earlier.
yeah.
The current relevant stars on hot shows.
The it kids
Mm-hmm.
were it for a while, and let me
Yeah,
tell you, if you were in a room with that one it kid, the littlest,
yeah,
the yeah, I don't know, I had to take my hat off to that kid after a while because he screamed, you'll float too," a million times, and he did it at the top of his lungs every single time. So I mean, the other people who were in that room who weren't it associated, they had to be just like, God, kill that freaking kid. But
yeah.
he did not, he gave it his all every time.
You should
So
you should hear Eric Freeman after a couple of beers. He just screams garbage day. Stands on his table, yeah, and screams garbage day over and over.
Eric is actually, he's still in the chat. Eric, is that true? Is that true?
Yeah, you got to get him at the right moment. You know. Actually, I don't even think Eric drinks.
I doubt it.
I don't think
I
he
hi-
does.
I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Maybe a sip or two every now and again, but not, yeah. And definitely not beer. I was actually doing a stream where I was drinking a beer not long ago, and he was like, "Is that a beer you're drinking?" And I was like, let me put that away. Uh, the one thing that I have heard from convention people, if we do get the big comeback this year, is prices are going up, to kind of to to make up for last year's losses. Prices will go up. Now, it's not necessarily celebrity prices, because celebrity, here's a common misconception, and you can help us with this.
Yeah,
I've heard celebrities at conventions, when somebody goes, oh, like they say, I'm charging this much, or I'm doing the photo op and it's this much, and a fan goes, oh God, really? And they go, well, it's the convention. The convention's forcing it, not me. I'd be cheaper if it was just me, but it's the convention. Who sets the prices at the table? That's the star, right? That's the guest.
that's the
That's not the
star and the manager. It's a
yeah,
collaboration, But and I mean, it depends on who you're talking about. If you get into someone that's huge, like Chris Evans or like one of those guys, then
right.
then they're right. The show usually determines the price because they're getting such a huge number that it has to be a number where they can physically hit that number of units to make their guarantee. So, but the average celebrity at a horror con, the convention does not set their price.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the talent and the agent.
So when Joe Blow says, it's the con who's forcing me to charge you $50 for my scribbly autograph, that's not the case.
Right. Exactly.
And that was
That's just a cop out for them. That's to make the
exactly.
cons look like the bad guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I've heard that prices are going to be going up as far as tickets to get into the event, most likely, hotel expenses and that kind of thing, to expect a price hike.
I haven't heard that. Uh, Most cons or the tickets that they've sold are from last year's event. Most of these cons can't even sell any tickets because they're already pre-sold out from last year, and it's limited capacity coming up this year.
Right.
So most of them, you won't even be able to get tickets really. They're going to be pre-sold out from everybody who had tickets from last year. And as far as autograph prices, I'm not going to be raising prices for any of my clients. We're going to charge the same, if not less, than what we did before the pandemic.
Have you ever had a client who you kind of have to be like, hey, bring it down a little bit? You know what I mean? Like it's $100 for an autograph. You'd be like, let's be a little more reasonable here. You ever had to kind of?
Not necessarily number wise. It's been because actors, I don't have to. It's not unknown to say a lot of them have healthy egos,
Right, right,
and they compare themselves to other actors.
right.
If I get an actor, a new client, and they're on The Walking Dead, and I say, okay, what do you want to charge? They'll say, well, what's so and so charging?
Right, right.
They compare themselves to other actors that are at the show doing the show that they're doing. They consider them on that level, and a lot of times they're not.
Yeah,
They'll compare themselves to like a Norman Reedus, and they'll say, well, he's the star, he's the guy on the TV guide, and you can't really compare yourself to him.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's still the same fan base. They're still going to want my autograph, and I'm like, yeah, but less is more.
Less is
Sometimes.
more. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not necessarily numbers. It's more dealing with the actor ego,
yeah,
bringing them back down a level. But most of the
yeah.
time they're pretty good. Most of the time they let me determine the price and they go with it, and they're happy with it.
I was actually at a con. It was actually my second con I ever went to. There was an actor there, and he was in a room with Michael Bean and Linda Blair and some much bigger names than him. And he was actually going to these people's tables and saying, you're worth more than that. You should hike your price up, so that he could then hike his own price
Yeah,
up, but it was still cheaper than everybody else's. Um, and that was like, dude, really? Like that's just, pathetic.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's the actor ego thing.
Yeah. Jeez.
But ultimately, this has been beating a dead horse. But ultimately, it's the fans. It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
If the fans don't pay it, then the prices will lower. I kept telling that to fans, who were Walking Dead fans. They kept saying, oh, everybody raises their price, and if we want to get a whole poster signed, we have to like remortgage our house. And I said, well, best thing I can tell you is stop paying it. Not to drive
Yeah.
business away, but that's the only way it's going to happen. If you guys keep lining up and paying top dollar, then we're going to keep asking for it.
Well, and what happened with a lot of those Walking Dead people is that even the big A-list Walking Dead people, when I met some of them in 2009 or 10, by 2012, 13, those prices had more than doubled.
Yeah,
So they had
yeah,
definitely hiked up those prices.
yeah, yeah. No, it's that's the way it is, supply and demand.
Supply and
But
demand,
I will
exactly.
give we talked about Norman Reedus. I will give him some credit because he didn't really change. From The Walking Dead, he was the same guy that was doing cons from Boondock Saints outside smoking a cigarette. He was that same guy once The Walking Dead hit. He just couldn't do that anymore. He couldn't go outside by himself. He couldn't walk by himself because people would just swarm him.
They swarmed. Yeah.
But he never, I spent some time with him, and he never got the actor ego. He never, he's always the same guy, just a nice guy.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's give away another photo. What do you say?
All right, this one I hate to give away, because it's really cool, but for my favorite movie, and it's a Jaws picture signed by Jeffrey Kramer,
Very nice.
who wrote his character named Hendrix. And
Very
that's
cool.
the famous scene where they close the beaches.
Hmm. I like it. Very cool.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Kramer
yeah.
from Jaws, the deputy from Jaws. Put those thinking caps on. Here is the question. Prior to Robert Englund being cast as Freddy Krueger, what actor was first cast to play the Dream Demon in A Nightmare on Elm Street?
I know this one.
Our first person to answer will get that Jeffrey Kramer autographed photo, that very nice Jeffrey Kramer autographed photo. Ed O'Neill, not Al Bundy. No, not Al Bundy. Let's see, Peter Welder, or do you mean Peter?
Peter Weller.
Peter Weller? No, it's not Peter Weller. Not Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
No, he was probably like what, 15.
He was very young. Yeah. Hey, Nitsa, how you doing, man? I think I hear some keyboards clacking on Google.
It's a British
Not
guy.
not Brad Dourif, Nico. Not Brad Dourif. Though I wonder what would Brad Dourif as Freddy be like? That would be interesting. I think.
That would have been. I think he would have done a good job.
I think you would. Yeah,
He's good at playing psychos.
very good. Yeah, Brad Dourif is I think, just an overall really underrated actor. He's a great freaking actor.
I did one con with him. I booked him for one con.
Oh yeah,
it was an interesting experience, but it was good.
Yeah, I really would like to meet him eventually. Jeremy would flip to meet Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, we've got a winner here. Horror fan Craig David Warner. Congratulations, sir. There's actually, if you look him up on Google, they made casts of him in the burn makeup, so you kind of would get an idea of what David Warner as Freddy Krueger would look like. It's pretty interesting. The British Freddy. How would that have gone?
He was allergic to their latex.
That's right. Yeah.
Aesthetics.
That's right.
Well, I think in the original script, if I remember, Freddy didn't speak much. So I don't know if we would have noticed the British accent. He didn't speak much.
That's true. So yeah, Craig, horror fan Craig, get in touch with me via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or my website, and we'll get that photograph sent out there. So let's see. Any questions for Dominic in the chat? Anybody got anything they want to ask Dominic about upcoming conventions or about clients? I'm sure he's got a lot of really embarrassing stories that involve Eric. If you want to hear an embarrassing Eric Freeman story, just post those in the chat, and we'll get around to those.
Yeah, Eric's, the first con that I did with Eric. The Columbus show a couple of years ago. It was an interesting experience because he was a little overwhelmed, I think. I don't think he really knew what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But he would talk. He would talk to each fan for like 5 minutes. And there's people wrapped around waiting, and I kind of had to say, Eric, we got to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And which is great because that's what fans are paying for. But it's just funny seeing other actors around them just blow through the people. They just go up and they're like, hey man, nice to meet you. Here's a selfie. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. And then Eric's still introducing himself to the fan in front of him.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did ask him to do, because he didn't quite know what to expect. I tried I tried to explain it as best I could. Here's what's going to happen here, and I said, ask the people where they came from, how far they came just to meet you. And I said, that's the people who you're going to meet there are fans. Sure, there's going to be a jerk every now and again. There's going to be some dummy who's just going to scream, say it. But, most of the people are they're fans. So ask them how far they came to meet you, and you'll see how, what kind of fans you've got. And I was very happy to see that weekend. Every time I looked over at Eric's table, he was packed. So, I was very, very happy.
Yeah, we had fun. It was a great con. I think he got stuck in the airport on the way home that Sunday.
He did. I remember that. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Let's see. Eric says, hey, Dom, don't tell them about the time we exchanged underwear.
Talk about being punished.
Let's see. Baby Herman's Dominic, what is your favorite horror movie sequel?
Psycho 2.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Or I guess, could you say Dawn of the Dead? Would that count or no?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
With the number 2 in it would be Psycho 2.
Yeah. So Psycho 2 is very, very good. Very, very good. Dan wants to know what's your favorite horror movie overall.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Or was he asking you or me?
You. He was asking you.
Yeah. We know yours is, what is yours?
Chainsaw, but Jaws is right up there. I've seen Jaws. Jaws and The Lost Boys, they're 2 movies I've seen the most in my life. So, I freaking love Jaws. I've not had a chance to meet Jeff yet. I have met the lady who was the first victim, because really there weren't a lot of Jaws people on the scene. she was the first one that I'd ever heard of that was doing conventions, and I got to meet her. But
Yeah, most of them are gone, unfortunately.
unfortunately, yeah, yeah. And I think that didn't Dreyfus do a couple of conventions, maybe?
He's done a few. He's done
Yeah.
a handful.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get a big reunion together this year.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be sweet.
yeah, I think there's like 5 or 6 people for the reunion.
Lorraine Gary?
No, no,
Ah,
it's Kramer, Jeffrey Kramer, Richard Dreyfuss, Susan Backlini, who you met, Alex Kittner, the actor who played
Alex
Alex
Skinner.
Kittner,
Yeah.
Carl Gottlieb, who wrote the
That's cool.
screenplay, and then Joe Alves, who built the shark.
Very cool.
We're
Very cool.
trying to get those guys while we can. I mean, the movie's you know getting up there.
It's 45 years old. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll be
Uh,
46 soon.
I can't ask him that, Dave. Who is your favorite client? You can't do that. That's like who's your favorite kid, man.
It is. It is. I mean, I like different reasons. I like different clients with different things. Can't really pick a favorite. I mean, the most meaningful would be Scott Wilson
Mm,
because he, as I said, he kind of blew the doors open for me and actually taught me how to negotiate and really kind of mentored me.
yeah. Yeah.
So he'd be. I would probably say Scott if I had to answer that. Because a lot of the clients I have now, I probably wouldn't have if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. Somebody's request. Let's see. Joe Reese says, "Could you get John J. York that was in the 1987 Werewolf TV series to come to a con?"
Joe, I think you'd probably be the only person in line for him.
I actually know that TV series has kind of gained a cult
Has
audience
it?
over the years. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are really wanting to see it come out in like a new format.
Is it available? I was just going to say, is it available anywhere? I
I
remember seeing it, but I haven't. I wanted to rewatch it, but I can't find it anywhere.
I think I may have heard recently that it is getting a new release, but let me see here. I know for years fans of it have pined for a new release,
I know
but
Brian Thompson is in it. Brian Thompson's one of my clients. He was in it.
yeah,
If I
yeah,
remember.
yeah. Brian Thompson, yeah, Brian Thompson's awesome.
And I
But yeah,
think
so
Richard Lynch was in it as well.
it has created a bit of amassed a bit of a cult following over the years. So there'd be some people there.
I think if they did a re-release, if they put it out like if Scream
Oh,
Factory put out a Blu-ray collector set or something or Arrow Video, then it would cause like a big resurgence for it.
yeah, yeah. Oh, Nico says that he had a landlord years ago who was a friend of Scott Wilson's. I met him once. What a lovely man. Ah,
Yeah, he
very
was.
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, Scott was. He was one of the greatest guys I've ever met.
The Boba Fett says, "Can you please share your first convention experience as a fan before becoming a promoter?" We kind of went over that toward the beginning, but Dominic, do you what? I know when I first walked into a convention for the first time. I mean, you're kind of all your senses are just, you know what I mean. It's sensory overload. Like I said, the sights, the sounds, the smells. Um, were you overwhelmed the first time you went in there? What was your thought process the first time you went into a convention?
Yeah, overwhelmed. I mean, like you said, you walk in, you're like, "What do I do? What's going on?" Like
Exactly.
there's so much going on, all around you. So you kind of have to have a schedule. You kind of have to have an agenda of what you want to do,
Mhm.
because there's films playing, which I've never been a fan of. Like I'm not. If I go to a convention, I want to hang out with my friends or I want to walk around. Like I don't want to be sitting in a room watching a movie. I can do that at home. So I've
Yeah.
never understood that. In a sense, I've never understood the cosplay thing. I think it's a whole level of fandom. I just, I never understood the appeal, but it's definitely part of the con culture.
Hmm. Yeah. That's the part of it that my girlfriend likes. My girlfriend could care less about the celebrities. Most of the celebrities. She did like meeting Terry Kaiser. She kind of geeked out a little bit over Lou Diamond Phillips too,
Yeah,
but she likes to see the people because those people that do the cosplay, they go all out. They've
yeah.
clearly spent a lot of money on their costumes and they're beautiful and they're extravagant and you know what I mean. She likes to kind of people watch when we go to
It's a
those things.
whole nother level of fandom.
Yeah.
Like as a fan, I associate with characters. I gravitate towards a character, but I don't want to be them. I don't want to
Yeah.
dress up as them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I love Jaws, but I don't want to put a cardboard fin on my head and walk around a convention center. But like I said, nothing against those people. I just never understood it, and it's dedication. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think the first couple of cons that I went to, I was there simply for the celebs. I was all about the celebs, so I didn't really take part in the panel discussions or in, even kind of just hanging out and enjoying the whole thing.
Hmm.
The panel discussions, the vendors, the whole nine yards. So the first couple of cons I went to, I was so focused on that, and then I kind of branched out. And I mean, there's so much to do there, even if you can't afford the celebrity experience. There's a lot you can do there, as far as meeting like-minded people, going to
Oh,
those panel discussions and Q&A's,
yeah.
getting that 15th bootlegged copy of The Night Brings Charlie, because you need it.
Right. Or just people watching. You can just sit in
Or
the
people
corner and
watch.
people watch, and it's like better than Walmart.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. I did a video a few years ago called the Convention Survival Guide, in which I outlined a few, a few of my pointers on how to successfully navigate the waters of a convention. What are some of your tips to newbies who may be going to their first convention? How can they have the best experience possible?
Well, number one, shower, wear deodorant. That's the number
Mm-hmm.
one because unfortunately a lot of people don't,
That's
and
true.
the rest of us suffer.
Yes.
Um, be prepared. As I said, know what you want to do, know who you want to meet, know when their panel is, know when their photo op is. Kind of map out and get coordinated. The things you want to do throughout the day. Otherwise, you're just going to walk in. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're not
Yeah.
going to know what to do. You're not going to know what line is for that or what's going on.
And a lot of the conventions will have like a map that shows
Right.
you where everything is, what time everything is. Get that map, find it,
Right.
get it.
Yep. Wear comfortable clothes. Hydrate. You know, and just relax. Just have a good time and chill out and enjoy the experience. And come by my clients and buy autographs.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think a lot of us are going to have a new appreciation once they come back because it's just they've been gone for over a year now.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see what else have we got going on out in the chat here. Somebody says James Spader. They want to see James Spader, and Eric says put me down for James Spader. He wants to meet James Spader
I,
too.
I would geek out over him too. He's
I
awesome.
would I would love to meet James Spader.
Maybe
Yeah,
him and
that's
David Cronenberg doing a photo
oh,
op together.
oh my god, yeah. Holding like a broken tail,
Right.
tailpiece on
Car
a car. Yeah,
carburetor.
exactly. Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
that would be a good one. Big Crack Rock says he grew a fin swimming in the Ohio River. I'm surprised you didn't grow more than that, my friend. I'd love to meet Joe Unger. Yeah, that's good. Ooh,
I met
horror.
him. Met him. A nice guy.
Oh, oh, cool. Now, horror fan Craig has brought out a big one. Pamela Springsteen. Are you familiar with Pamela Springsteen?
Yeah. Sleepaway Camp 3 or 4.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
She's the boss's sister, I think. She would be a big one because the Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 have become big cult movies over the years, and she apparently does not do interviews. She does not do conventions, so she'd be another one who would cause some waves in the horror
Was she
community.
she wasn't on the Blu-rays that came out, the new ones?
No, no,
Hmm.
no. She didn't participate. So I don't know if it's that she just doesn't, she's just got better things to do, or she's not proud of those movies, or you know what I mean. She doesn't. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, she would be somebody that would. Yeah. Influence Films. Kane Hodder is at a lot of shows, man. Just he makes the rounds. So if you want to meet Kane Hodder, there's plenty of opportunities. Keith David. I've not seen him at a convention, but I don't know. Is he on the scene?
Oh yeah, Keith David's. He's done a handful. We did a lot of Thing reunions when I booked Wilford. He was there at a few of them. He'll do a few a year. He doesn't
Yeah.
oversaturate, but he'll do. I think he works a lot too still, so he
Yeah.
probably doesn't have a lot of time to do that many. But he'll pop up at them.
Yeah, I'd love to meet him too. Such a great voice line. I think he does a lot of voiceover stuff
Yeah,
nowadays too. Yeah.
and he's got an action figure coming out. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Let's see here. Lopke mentions Kevin Bacon. Dominic and I were talking about Kevin Bacon before we went live. That would be a huge get too. A huge get. Dominic actually represents Barbara Crampton, Jeff.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, she's awesome.
yeah. Does she do a lot of shows?
She'll do maybe 3 a year. You know, she works a lot. Luckily,
Yeah.
she made a comeback with Your Next, and she works. She keeps pretty busy working regularly.
Yeah.
So I'll book her. You know, we do reanimator reunions every once in a while.
Mhm.
We had a couple scheduled for last year. We're hoping to do this year. So we'll
Mhm.
see. You know, of course, not the same without Stewart, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. How was Stewart to work with, by the way? He always seemed like such a nice, mild mannered dude. That made these crazy body horror movies. You know what I mean?
no, he was great. The funny thing about Stewart was he couldn't stand the sight of blood. You know, he was petrified by the sight of blood. Like his wife Carolyn tells a story about their dog stepping on a piece of glass at their house, and there were little bloody paw prints, and he couldn't look. He was like hiding his face, and it's kind of funny when you look at his films. You know, the stuff that he's made some really graphic, like Castle Freak and
Yeah.
Pit in the Pendulum. I mean, he's put some really graphic stuff, and I think it's like a kind of a way to conquer his phobia.
Yeah. Or he directed those scenes like, okay, action. You know, he just
Yeah.
kind of covered up.
He was great. I mean, Stewart was very professor-like, very soft-spoken,
Yeah.
but he knew the genre. You know, he knew how to tell a story, and he was great. I definitely miss him.
Yeah. I've not met Nick Castle. Nitzau, he was at a convention I was at year before last, but there were so many other people there I wanted to meet. And one of the things that I preach in my convention survival guide is look at that guest list. Just figure that everybody on that guest list is going to cost 30 or 40 bucks. Try and budget that. And then, look at who do you want the most. And you know what I mean? Budget.
And not to be morbid, but if you see somebody there like a Riku Browning, I probably wouldn't wait. You know,
Yeah.
I'd probably pass on an actor who's in their 40s and get the guy who's 80.
That's something to think about too. And Nick Castle, I do believe he's up there in age.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was something you mentioned George Romero earlier. He was going to be at a Scare Fest many years ago, and I ended up not being able to go. And I was just like, damn, that was my opportunity. I'll never meet him. And then he got booked at Scare Fest, I think the year before he passed away. So I did finally get to meet him. And so that was a big one for me.
I'm glad you got to meet him because he was great.
Yeah, he was
an
great.
Awesome guy. His signature changed after he had the stroke. His signature kind of slightly changed, but
yeah,
just meeting him, he was one of the nicest guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see. Brad Frazier says he would love a Barbara Crampton autograph. Does she have any on the website?
Yeah, you can get those on the site.
Okay, fullempirepromotions.com.
Yep.
There you go, man. Do you have anybody doing Days of the Dead in Chicago this year?
Yes, a handful have not been announced yet. If you look at their guest list that was moved, it should be any surprise because it's all the ones that we had booked for November. I think November was their original date for Chicago, and we moved all those to April.
Okay.
So I don't want to say anything until they announce them. But
okay.
It's all most of the same ones who were announced for November.
Okay, cool. Let's give away one more autograph, and then we will call it a stream. What do you say? What have you got for us, Dom?
The last one here is a rare one, another rare one. It's a Home Alone 2 photo signed by Daniel Stern, who played Marv.
Daniel Stern.
It's an 8x10 of the poster art. And he has not done any cons yet. I've done a private signing with him. We're doing another one next month. And then hopefully, once it's safe, we'll get him out and do some cons.
Yeah, I was telling Dom before we went live, he would be a big one because he's got that crossover. He's done some horror, he's done some I don't want to say mainstream stuff, but stuff like freaking Home Alone 2. He was the voice of Kevin on the Wonder Years, for God's sake. You know what I mean? So he's been involved in a lot of really cool stuff. He'd be a major draw, I think.
I think so.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and he's a nice guy too.
and that makes a huge difference too. All right. So for the Daniel Stern autographed Home Alone 2 photo, here we go. This film from 1980 was believed to be an actual snuff film upon its release, and the director was arrested and held until the cast of the film appeared in court to prove they were still alive. What movie is this? I'll read it again. This 1980 film was believed to be an actual snuff film upon its release. The director, okay, I don't need to read it because we've got a winner already. All right, who commented first here? Let's see, Gabe, you've already won something. So let's move to the next person. Brad Frazier, Cannibal Holocaust. You are correct. Gabe did win something, right?
I think he won the first one we did. The Andrew Divoff.
Andrew Divoff. So you've got let's spread the wealth here a little bit. So Brad Frazier, number 2, Cannibal Holocaust. Get in touch with me on Twitter, man, and we'll get that out to you. So
yeah, congrats, Brad. That's a rare one.
Yeah, right on, man. Very cool. Yeah, Daniel Stern. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Have you met Rogero Deodato?
No, I've not.
No, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. I met him. It's kind of funny because he was talking to me about the real animal deaths, and saying they really didn't plan it, but they were on a short budget. They didn't have an effects team, and then this woman walks up right behind me and starts cursing at him, saying, you're an animal torturer. And he just looked at her and went, no English, no English. After we just had like a 20-minute conversation in English. I thought, that's pretty shrewd.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, yeah, thanks, Brad. Yeah, congratulations, man.
Very cool.
All right. So, anything that you'd like to add in closing before we call it a night here, Dom?
Well, as I said earlier, check out my site. I offer a lot of virtual stuff. I'm booking them through different cons and doing them in-house. And all the updates go on there for upcoming events, in person and virtual. Any kind of news will be on the social media. All the links are on that site. And also, as I said, if there's a con coming up that's in your neighborhood and you're comfortable going out in the pandemic, check it out. Support them, because that's the only way we're going to get them back. If these guys can keep going and keep their business going.
Yeah, right on.
And Justin, thanks for chatting. I appreciate the time. And
yeah, it's been fun, man. Like I said, anytime I get the opportunity to talk about conventions, I'm down for it. Unfortunately, that's about all we've been able to do is talk about conventions. So I'm ready to get back out there, and you know what I mean.
Well,
get back.
We'll see how the ones next month go. There are a couple of them next month, so we'll see. We'll see what the word is on those, and I'll see it firsthand. And hopefully that's a jump start.
Yeah, right on. Let me give some shout outs here. Thank you, Lopke Vision Films, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Nico, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dan, for the $5 super chat. And thank you, Robin, for the $5 super chat. Very kind of you. Let's see. The PlayStation 9. Thank you for subscribing over on Twitch. I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in over on Twitch also. Sting of the Scorpion 78 and Envy Davler, thank you guys for tuning in over on Twitch. Let's see who's still with me over on YouTube. We got Nico, Robert Long, Jeff Overing, Lopke Vision Films, Darren. We've got my buddy Dave Vanderhoff, Big Crack Rock, the Mayor, Mask of a Red Death, Gabe K. Okla, the Boba Fett's, Nitzau, Steve L., Influence Films, Damon Michaels, a.k.a. Eric Freeman, my buddy Dan, my buddy Joe Reese, Ken Francis. Yeah, thank you all for...
Ken's one of my guys that works for me. Ken?
Oh, cool.
Thanks for checking it out.
Actually, I kind of overlooked Ken's question, but I think maybe it was a bit of a troll because basically he said, how does one become a FEP rep? Not sure what that means.
Yeah,
Oh,
full
full
on
empire
fire
promotion.
promotion. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a troll, Ken. Come on.
Yeah, I kind of I saw that one and I didn't kind of acknowledge it because I was like, yeah, but yeah, okay, so cool. That was a bit of a
I'm
troll.
surprised it was that clean coming from him.
All right, well, thanks again for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. He's still in the chat. He says LMAO. So thank you, Ken. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you again, Dom. It was a lot of fun. You all take care out there.
Yeah.
Stay safe, and we'll see you again in the very, very near future.
Thanks a
Peace.
lot, guys.